Alright, is this on? Can you hear me?
You're good.
Thumbs up?
Yeah.
Alright, that's what I like to see. Alright, thank you. So, my name is James Mickens. I work in the Distributed Systems Group over at Microsoft Research in Redmond, and today I'm going to describe to you some of my thoughts on computing. Where computing comes from, where computing is right now, where computing is going, just various permutations of the word computer and some action verbs. So much like Stonehenge, my wisdom is a sophisticated cultural artifact that is timeless and will later be vandalized by drunken British youths. I encourage you to just sit back and accept my words uncritically. Just let them wash over you like waves of sweet knowledge. Look at that, it's a word cloud. That indicates that I'm a serious thinker and that I convey information using visually confusing diagrams. What does it mean that NoSQL goes left and right, but the security goes, I don't know, nobody knows. It's a word cloud. Look at all the fun things that I'm going to discuss. Computer security, myself, James Mickens, I'm interesting to talk about at the top of the conversation. There's just so many, it's a word cloud. If there was someone right here, I would just high five them, maybe I'll hug them later. I receive some wisdom, that's a good thing to do. Now before I continue, let me just say that in this talk, I represent the opinions of myself, not necessarily Microsoft. Now I'm going to tell you some truths today that may shock you, that may amaze you, that may force you to reconsider your very conception of reality. I'm here to recruit you into a quest to save the world. So in this respect, I'm kind of like Gandalf, but I'm skinnier, I'm not wearing a wizard's hat, I am black. As we all know, there are very few people of color in Lords of the Ring. Very few of them are wizards. However, I'm not here to discuss racial inequality in Middle Earth today. I'm actually going to talk about technology. But like I said, the things that I'm saying right now represent me, not necessarily Microsoft, so don't go on the tweet or Snapchat or whatever it is the kids do these days and say that I'm making these crazy statements and Microsoft agrees. Now, that being said, everything that I'm going to tell you today is 100% completely true. So even though this talk is titled Computers Are a Sadness, I Am the Cure, the real title of this talk is I Am Infallible, and you are welcome to receive my wisdom. Using my amazing Photoshop skills, I've created a mock-up of what that title would look like if it were a lower back tattoo. The tattoo actually goes from the lower back to the upper back inclusive. You want that tattoo to be big so people can read it. That's why you got the tattoo. Anyways, moving on. Distributed systems. These are the things that I study as a researcher at Microsoft. So my days and my nights are filled with diagrams that look like this. Their clients and their servers trying to send messages to each other in a frantic effort to make forward progress. Now, of course, most of these messages get lost because God hates us, but we still have to somehow make the system work because life is unfair. So I just tell the machines to send more messages and just hope that things work out better with the new messages. It usually doesn't, but oh well. So I first heard about distributed systems in 2004 when I was a grad student. This is when I read that original MapReduce paper coming out of Google. Now, for a lot of people, reading that paper was like receiving knowledge from an alien race whose intelligence vastly surpassed our own, right? But the thing about MapReduce was that at its core, MapReduce was so simple. That paper that they wrote basically seduced you with its architecture for distributed computation. It was almost like Antonio Banderas came up to you and said, all you need to do is specify a mapping function and a reducing function, and then, my love, you are done. Your computation is ready to run on thousands of commodity machines. And I will rock you to sleep in my Antonio Banderas song. So that was like very exciting like 10 years ago. But so now it's 2014, so I propose let's just stop talking about MapReduce and Hadoop and that entire software stack. It's not bad, I just don't want to hear about it anymore. It's like, I get it, you got a mapper, you got a reducer, you got a bunch of documents with words in them, and you want to use the mapper and reducer to perform word counts over all the documents. Say word count one more time. I get it. I am so tired of hearing that word count example. Like, is that how we're going to convince young people that cloud computing is the future? It's like, hey Timmy, hey Sally, you know what you can do with the whole warehouse full of machines? You can use them to count words. That's the lamest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Okay? I could fill that warehouse with sweatshop kids and count those words for pennies a day. Okay? The index isn't inverted yet? No cookies for you. That's called entrepreneurship, y'all. You need to write that stuff down. Okay? Okay, fine. So you don't want to do word count, so what else can you do with MapReduce in the cloud? So you can build social graphs that span nations and connect people across time and space. So the only problem with this social networking stuff is that I hate most of the people that I know. So I wish that I knew less about them. I don't want to see them in real life, so there's no reason I want their idiocy transmitted to me in electronic form over a social network. I can predict with 100% accuracy what people are doing. They're making a series of obvious mistakes that I would not have made. Social network to tell me things that I already know because I believe in myself and I feel pretty good about that. So listen, at a high level, there's basically two kinds of people who talk about the cloud. People who have actually built and implemented cloud services and other. Okay? Now, people in the other category, they can be happy about the cloud because they don't really know what happens inside of the cloud. Now, from the outside, the cloud looks like happy, fun time village. You see nines of availability running around, holding hands, and there's no congestion in the network. And if you need access to 4 programming cores, then by golly, you're going to get those cores because performance isolation is a solved problem in the cloud. Now, that, of course, is what you think if you've never actually used the cloud before. However, if you have used the cloud, if you've built a cloud service, it's a nightmare. Okay? Machines are failing constantly. Whenever you try to issue a single IOP to any disk drive, you'll find the drive queue has a length of 80 gajillion IOPs, none of which belong to you, right? And 80 gajillion is actually a real number that was invented to describe cloud scale I/O. How long did your I/O take? It took like 80 gajillion seconds. I hate myself and I want to die. So you're probably thinking to yourself, but James, aren't you forgetting about SLAs? Don't SLAs guarantee me a given level of service? Well, here's what an SLA guarantees you, okay? Gigantic 15 standard deviation oscillations around the average of the SLA set. Okay? So it's like, how much networking bandwidth will your application receive? It will receive no bandwidth. Or all the bandwidth in the universe! Right? So please, if you work in the cloud industry, stop giving interviews to news reporters, okay? Because you make it sound like working in the cloud is fun, and that is actually not true at all. So if you want to know the definition of pain, go to a meeting in which some cloud engineers are trying to figure out line availability zone just went down. So Steve will come in, and he's the network edge guy, and he'll be like, hey, just FYI, our data center has turned into a black hole for packets, no big deal. I'll just go rewrite our SLAs to mention that we don't respond to your requests at all, and we refuse to run your VMs because you can't run VMs inside of a black hole due to relativistic effects. So cool, way to go team, proud to be a part of this whole thing. And then the internal network lady comes in, and she's like, Steve, don't even go there. We still haven't recovered from the time that you messed with the BGP tables, and we suddenly became responsible for serving traffic for Hezbollah's website. And then Brian came in and asked me why I hate freedom. I said that I love freedom. And then he said, well, then why are you serving traffic from Hezbollah's website? And I said, maybe you should talk to Steve about that. And then the operational specialist walks into the meeting. He's like, hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I just want to let you know I'm rolling a new OS upgrade across the data center. And then Steve and Laura, they're like, why would you ever update anything, ever? You never update anything. Our machines are going to be rebooting for decades. When there's new updates, the new updates require more updates. It's a cycle of violence and poverty. You can be an idiot. And so the operations guy is like, well, if we don't update, then the viruses are going to come in. And then Steve and Laura are like, the viruses are already there. Let the viruses stay there. They're not hurting anyone besides the customers. And we don't care about the customers. They've already paid us. So the point is, if you actually look at how the cloud works, it's a crazy train. Drop out of school, listen to heavy metal, go to Europe, backpack for a year, find yourself. It's a bad scene. And so one of the reasons I'm actually excited to be at Monitorama is because you folks are actually trying to measure things and understand what's going on in the world. So here's my question about the cloud at a high level. Like, literally, why does anything happen in the cloud? For real. Like, troubleshooting the cloud is a huge problem. And I really want to echo what the last speaker said. We've actually got a lot of good raw data out there, but it's really the analysis that is super, super important, right? I've got enough maps of ping connectivity to give my grandchildren's grandchildren, okay? But I actually want to know why things are going down. So, what do we have right now? Basically, we have this thing, it's like an old-timey map, right? You just got this big dragon sitting in the middle, and it's like, come at me, make a move, right? Like, see what's going So my point is that cloud monitoring is super important. Now, that being said, if we can be frank, because I feel like I'm friends with all of you, I don't think the cloud will actually ever work. I think it's too big and too complicated for people to understand. However, that's okay. What I'm telling you is actually a message of hope. Give up. It may be impossible to have consistency and availability and partition tolerance at the same time, but maybe if you only want some of those things some of the time, you only have to see your psychiatrist half as much. All right? That's actually better than before. Asking fewer things from life is a very powerful strategy for dealing with an adversarial world. So for example, what's that? You're angry because people told you to move your email servers to the cloud, and then you moved it to the cloud, but then the cloud went down and your provider isn't telling you what happened? Well listen, the solution is easy. You should want to use email less. Spend more time with your friends. Learn how to play the guitar. The universe is doing you a favor. It's rude to turn down favors. What's that, you say? You're taking a test in a massively online course and then the MOOC page starts 404 and you can't log back in to finish your test? It's not a problem. Just take the test later. Your online degree will be just as worthless. Did nobody tell you that MOOC degrees are not worth as much as real degrees? My bad. You didn't even hear that. So let's get serious. Will you join me in being serious? What I'm trying to say is that distributed systems are hard, but if we're willing to abandon the notion of perfection, we can actually do some pretty reasonable things. So if we study things like two-phase commit and erasure coding and stuff like that, and if we think about system design, logging, and monitoring in a methodical way, maybe we can actually build some scalable services that perform reasonably well and are available most of the time. So my point is that not everything is hopeless. Only most things are hopeless, and there are some best practices we can rely on. Now, of course, a lot of people don't actually want to study some of these classic techniques I just mentioned. They just want to build their social networking app that lets you Facebook your Instagram Vine or whatever it is that's valued at $14 billion these days. And these app people, they basically want a fast solution now. They just want to build something and they want to cash out and snort cocaine and race speedboats and do things from the 1980s, okay? And when this kind of application person wants to use cloud storage, they often turn to NoSQL solutions. Now, these NoSQL people, they're kind of like bait. Okay? They want to encourage chaos. They want people to abandon their cars on the freeway, wander the streets, do crazy things without consequence or repercussions. Now, I kind of understand their perspective. I mean, nobody wants to read a paper about Byzantine fault tolerance or how to produce good logging output to understand why failures happen. It's boring and it's tedious. However, these consistency protocols are important. These diagnostic infrastructures are important. You can't just ignore them completely. But some of these NoSQL people, like I said, they're like Bane. They're like, maybe when you build your system, it will be correct the first time. You will be logging if you don't have bugs in your code. These consistency protocols, they want to constrain your freedom. Let your reads and writes choose their own destiny. When you want to, handle conflicts by not handling them. Only then will you experience the true joys of existence. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that all NoSQL people are bad. Now, in fact, there is no single definition for NoSQL. It means different things to different people. However, there are a lot of people who interpret NoSQL to mean this. You can have your reads and writes just flying around the distributed system in random order, and things will eventually work out, or they won't work out, but that's fine because high performance. Now, this is not actually a good attitude to have. Here's the thing, okay? Once again, circle, trust me to tell you a secret, okay? When you listen to politicians and business leaders, they always say things like, we need more scientists. We need more engineers. We need more people to go into the computer sciences. However, the reality is not that we need more programmers. America needs fewer programmers, okay? I meet people all the time with dumb ideas for dumb things. Hey, I want to make an app that combines online maps with sightings of Bigfoot and the latest stock quotes from the Latvian stock market. That's a dumb idea and I hope you fail. Okay? A lot of these app developers should not have been told that technology is the future, okay? They should have been told that, like, painting was the future. And then they could go off and paint and then leave the rest of us alone, right? So once again, what I'm saying, the computing industry needs to be serious like this dude from the 70s, right? So why are we encouraging people to build stupid apps? It's like, I'm pretty sure we haven't solved cancer yet. Let's knock that out first. You see what I'm saying? Then we can work on a phone app that allows me to detect which pairs of twins are in my area, and then I can text message just one of them and then use my camera phone to take a picture of the reaction of the other one. That's stupid. Okay? That just got $15 million in angel investment. Okay? So if you're a venture capitalist who funds that kind of stuff, I hope you become poor. I don't mean just like regular poor, I mean like destitute. Like one of these people like in the Bible that nobody would talk to, and then like Jesus would talk to you, but even he wouldn't be very happy with you. You're like super, super destitute. So the computing industry needs to get serious about building robust cloud infrastructure, needs to get serious about building monitoring infrastructure, we need to stop funding these stupid apps. Now, here's another thing that we need to be serious about. Security. Now, a couple months ago, I actually wrote an essay about security and threat models. And so I proposed in this essay that there's only one threat model that you need to worry about. This threat model is called Mossad or not Mossad. So basically, you're either being attacked by the Mossad or you're not being attacked. Now, if you're not being attacked by the Mossad, which by the way is where you want to be, standard defenses that you can employ. So you can use strong passwords, don't click on ads for herbal Viagra, and you should basically be fine. Now, on the other hand, if you are being attacked by the Mossad, there are no defenses, and you're going to die 100% of the time, so just give up. Go to the zoo, catch a movie, then you're going to die, and there's nothing you can do to out-Mossad the Mossad. These guys have all kinds of things you don't even have. They have drones, they have satellites that are intercepting communications and looking at things. You don't have a satellite, okay? They have guys dropping out of helicopters. You're on a Frisbee golf team. These guys have like night vision goggles. They have guns that shoot around corners. That's a real thing. So I don't think that having a PGP signature on your email is like going to protect you from that stuff. Now it's funny, so after I wrote this essay, somebody went on Twitter and said, "This just in, James Mickens killed Why would you decide to do that? That's not very neighborly." So, anyways, I think that all these security issues are very interesting, particularly in light of all this stuff that happened with Edward Snowden. Now, personally speaking, I find it shocking that anyone was surprised by what the NSA was doing, right? But apparently what I learned in this whole thing is that here's what people's mental model for the NSA was, right? When the NSA was to get some information, they assemble a team of local Boy Scouts, just some really moral and religious people, and they send the Boy Scouts to the fiber optic cable, and the Boy Scout leader says, "Why, look at that, gentlemen, it's a fiber optic cable. Just filled with information. What could be inside? I'd sure like to know. But be careful, boys. Let's not touch the cable directly or tamper with it in any way. Let's just build a campfire and look at the cable and just use our imaginations to figure out what's going on. It'll be fun and educational." Of course not. Like, of course this isn't what was happening. So don't be naive. We already knew the CIA was doing wacky things like trying to kill Castro with a poison cigarette. And we knew that the NSA has these special undersea submarines that splice cables. And we know that DARPA's working on exoskeletons, and that exoskeletons lead to Terminators. Watch the movies, people, they're documentaries. So what I'm trying to say is that the government is a much stronger adversary than people seem to understand. A lot of people in the computing industry seem to think that somehow, clever use of cryptography can protect us from an overbearing government. This is like saying if you own a gun, then you and your ragtag group of gun owners can prevent a government attacking your property. So to be clear, that's not how the government's going to come at you. So the government is not going to engage you in close combat musket battles like you practice in your Civil War reenactments. Okay? The government's going to attack you with Navy SEALs and Tomahawk missiles because they have that stuff and you don't. So similarly, in the world of digital security, the government is not going to go send Boy Scouts to try to guess your password. Instead, the government is going to come at you by controlling all the infrastructure you know and love in this world. So for example, how can you trust the hardware that you use to run Tor or PGP or whatever technical doodad you think is going to protect your freedom? How can you trust the networks that connect all of your machines to other machines? Do you know literally all the hardware and software that's on your smartphone? If the answer is no, I don't think cryptography is going to help. So basically what I'm saying is that for all you in the room who are worried about security, here's your challenge. How can we defend against the government when the only things that we can trust are some stones, a pencil, and a big dry leaf that I found in my driveway? So can we do anything with that? I personally don't know. Maybe you do. So think about it. So there's another problem with the security stuff, right? I told you the government, they can manipulate your hardware and your software and network in ways that you could probably never detect. However, to do that stuff, it would require a lot of resources. However, there are a lot of really easy attacks that are super successful in practice and require many fewer resources to launch. So let me give you a real-life example. Okay? About 4 times a year, the following thing happens to me on Facebook, okay? I log on to Facebook, that's what my profile looks like. I check out what my friends are doing. Now, by the way, we drill down here, I've got 646 friends, pretty big number, not trying to brag, which is a fact in the world, pretty popular. That number's actually going up since I made that slide. It's probably about 647, something like that. Anyways, do with that information what you will. So, I go to Facebook, and then I see that I have a new friend invite. So some new person wants to be my friend. That's awesome. So I click on the little thing, and I look at my profile, and I want to see who's going to be my friend. So please meet Mary. Now, according to the internet, Mary wants to be my friend. And to be frank, I'm not surprised. You know? I'm a charismatic young man with a bright future ahead of me. Why wouldn't she want to be my friend? I'm fantastic. Now, the only problem is that I'm not actually sure that I know this person. So maybe I do, though. I'm an optimist. So let's check out her information. So I click on her profile, so what do I find out? So here's her education. Central University, no city or school provided, just it's central to everything. That's cool. I like to have educated friends. So, you know, what's her job? Okay. I assume this word is misspelled or in some European language, but you know what? In this economy, if you have a job, then good for you. So hey, whatever the right tutor is, man, God bless you. So how about Mary's religious views? Law. Just law. That's actually pretty insightful, right? We're all struggling with these big questions like, you know, who made us? Are we alone in this universe? Law. I'm really laughing out loud. It really puts things in perspective, I think. So I think to myself, do I know Mary? Is she a person that I met in real life? And the answer is, of course not. It's objectively impossible. I think that I would have remembered if I was going to parties and hanging out at Central University, which isn't even real. That's like saying you went to school in Narnia or something like that, right? So it's impossible that I know Mary in real life, but I'm a guy, so I'm dumb. So I'm thinking, but maybe I do. Maybe I know her, but there's an entire part of my life that I can't even remember because I have like a memory disease, and Mary's just trying to help me, like that movie Total Recall, and we had all these things, like we're just good friends, and we hung out in Cabo San Lucas, and I woke up and my kidneys were missing. I was in a bathtub full of ice, and Mary was there. She nursed me back to health, and she's saying, James, it was amazing. We're best friends. I just need to be your friend on Facebook and look at all your private personal information I already know as your good friend. I just like to see it in a browser-based format, so be my friend. So Mary. So as a man, as a stupid man, that's what I'm thinking. Now, of course, here's what we know. Young, exciting, newborn Mary is obviously there's just no doubt about this whatsoever. And yet, if there were 100 different Jameses in 100 different universes, at least 5 are going to click accept on that. And I'm actually doing pretty well as a man. Right? I have a pretty large amount of common sense. So 5 out of 100 Jameses are clicking on this. And then for some random guy named Todd, like 73 Todds out of 100 are clicking on this thing. That's a really big problem. So here's the most important goal in security research. Let's just eliminate management. Let's just get rid of it. It's just not working looking out for men. We are too dumb to be tolerated. We are a menace. We had a good one. You know, we tried our best. And that's actually not true. Many of us did not try our best. But, you know, it is what it is. And in fact, I feel that's the description that Zeus would use when he was sitting around on Mount Olympus, like hanging out with the other gods, talking about the whole man thing. Like, you know, Athena would come up and she'd say, hey Zeus, how's that whole man project coming along? And Zeus would just shake his head and say, it is what it is. They just keep clicking on stuff they shouldn't click. It is what it is. So, how can Monitorama help with this? I'm not really sure. Maybe you can develop some type of measurement infrastructure that detects when there are too many Jews in the room, and then, like if that happens, like a bunch of bear fall from the ceiling, and then like that weird puppet from the song says something creepy. I don't know. I'm just improvising here, but that's a homework assignment for all of you. Okay. So, in conclusion, what have we learned today? We've actually learned quite a lot. We've learned that Ozzy Osbourne is the patron saint of cloud computing. We've learned that Bain is tired of having people tell him which servers he can read and write to. We've learned that we actually need fewer programmers, not more. We've learned that the government is not actually going to engage in a musket battle with you. And we've learned this guy really, really wants to be your friend. So, please, take my wisdom, make it your own. I thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions.
We have time for one question if there isn't.
Can we all be your friend on Facebook?
It's an excellent question. As you may have guessed, becoming my friend is kind of like getting a gun. In New Jersey, there's background checks required. It's a very lengthy process, so I encourage you to submit that request. What I will typically do is I will wait 2 to 3 days to show that I'm not desperate. That's not a you thing, that's a me thing, but I encourage you to connect with me online in any way. I love judging people, so feel free to open up your entire profile to me. You know, I'll post sarcastic things in your wall and just generally bring us together in a fellowship of irony. So, thank you very much. All right, guys, thanks.